All right, guys, what's up? We are back, episode 41 of the Mindset Effect podcast. Before you listen, make sure to check us out on YouTube. We post all of our videos on there, so you can see our faces and
The
hear the
beauty of it.
audio. Yes, and how the lighting changes, how we all look
Yeah.
over time. Definitely very interesting stuff. So check that out. And yeah, so today's episode, we are going to be talking about work-life balance and, how to achieve it. And so we're first going to, define like what is work, what is life, what is balance. And, might sound pretty cliche, but, it's very nuanced. And so I think per person, every person has their own definition of work-life balance. And personally, I believe it's based on your current goals, current ambitions, like what you want to be. And so I guess for me, right, like work-life balance. So like for me, work represents, career stuff, right? Like I have my company work that I need to do, and I have my own personal work that I need to do, just to further my career. And life is more like a social aspect for me, like so hanging out with friends, just meeting new people, and attending events. Like that's all under the life aspect of that balance. And so I guess for me, work-life balance is like making sure that yeah, so I'm definitely more focused on the work part, right? Like I want to further my career more while I'm younger. So in the future, when I'm older, I can enjoy life more. I can ultimately travel. Like I think traveling is so cool. So I want to travel a lot in the future. And so I'm more focused on the career aspect right now, but I also like want to make sure that, that I'm still hanging out with friends and, still enjoying life at the moment. That's my take on work-life balance based on like my own goals. Cause I'm pretty young, right? Like I think as young people, like a lot of young people, they care about their careers a lot more. Just because, we want to improve improve as fast as possible. And so so that's another aspect. Depends on your stage in life. And so if you're younger, you're probably gonna be focused more on career. If you're older, probably gonna be more focused on life, just because of all the things you've been through, and you want to enjoy life more. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, like, I've talked about this with you, Kevin. It's like I'm not a super big fan of like the idea of work-life balance, but like if I had to define it for me, I do like to think of it all as just being life, but I would say work is just like literally anything that's career related, just like you. So like anything video related or
You know what's the beauty of it? So like I can see where Andrew's coming from. So like everything is life to him because the beauty of knowing what you want to do is that when you do find a job and when you are working, like it's like directed towards what you want to do. So it's pretty much just another aspect of your life, basically.
Mhm. Yeah, and I really define myself by my purpose. And so when I'm doing what is my purpose, to me, that's like basically equivalent with my life. But if I did have to define it, I would say, like similar to you, work is just everything that's code related, everything business related, everything that's like, actually related to the career and furthering that. And then like life would be, hanging out with like nephews or nieces or friends and stuff like that. Um, and, again, just like you said, I really do think that all of this balance is something that's super subjective and we should all decide for ourselves. So many people want to give advice nowadays of like, make sure you have work-life balance and all this stuff. And, some people just don't want that. I'm somebody who I want to grind as much as I can per day. But if I have friends who want to hang out with me, this, like I will make time. There were times where I was incredibly busy, but Kevin and I would go and like see a movie. Because, I want to have the brand of like, I want my friends to know that I will take time out of my day for them. And so like, this is one of the reasons I do calls with people all the time. It's like, I want to have that kind of branding. And so, a big motto of mine is like, I will do whatever I have to do whatever I want to do. So if I need to get 2 hours of sleep because I need to get work done and I need to hang out with a friend, I'll do that. And so it's just a matter of priorities, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like I guess other aspect of life for you is health, right? I think you have to be willing. I think for Andrew, he's super willing to sacrifice his health, for uh, increasing his yeah, he's willing to sacrifice his health for his goals, his career and stuff. So I think different people, you have to really think about it, be critical. Like, do I really want to, am I willing to sacrifice my health? And I think it depends on the person, right? Of course.
Yeah,
Um, and so, I think a lot of people, they go online, they look at these videos that are like, they look at these articles, videos about, how to achieve work-life balance, right? Chances are, if you're listening to this, you're probably like, how do I achieve work-life balance? And, the answer is like, there's no answer. I think I think the goal ultimately is like, we should be promoting people to be more critical. People just need to think for themselves instead of looking for
I
that,
agree.
like a one all do all answer. And so, yeah, you got to think for yourself. You got to really evaluate your own life, your own goals, your own stage in life, and really determine, what a balance is to you. So,
Yeah, and this really goes back to like you have to think about the consequences of your actions before you take them. Like I said, I will give up tons of sleep to get my work done and to hang out with friends if I need to. And so it's like, I recognize the consequences. I'm going to be exhausted the next day. It's like, am I okay with sacrificing that and like, going through that? Any choice that you make, especially with work-life balance, if you work all the time, are you okay with not seeing your future kids like as much, or potentially, in like hopefully in my case, you'll be wealthy enough that you'll actually be able to spend time with them. So obviously that depends, but like, are you okay with making the sacrifices and the things that you're giving up? Are you going to look back 20 years from now and be like, shoot, I should have done more of that. And I think as much as I value family, I realize that not everyone else does. And so, there's somebody out there, I guarantee, just doesn't care about family. And so like to them, it doesn't make sense to try to spend tons of time with family if they just do not like it. And as terrible as that might sound, I think, people need to do what's right for them. And so it's like, you have to decide what's right for you. And I think we all know, we just don't want to make that decision. But like, you've got to figure out what's right for you in that area, I think. And just make sure you're okay with everything you're sacrificing. Like, this is something that I always talk about. Like, figure out the person you want to be, know all the consequences that you're going to have to go through to be that kind of person. And like, if you still are okay with going through all of that, then like focus on being that kind of person. Like, your work-life balance is going to have to surround that kind of person you want to be around, like that you want to be. If you want to be seen as a family person, you might have to work less. If you want to be seen as somebody who's, a world changer and a visionary, you might have to work more and see your
what do you
family.
mean put it as be seen as? Just if you want to be that person.
Like I think your branding, like how you want to
See,
be.
branding is so subjective. Branding is like how other people perceive you. I think you should base your actions off of who you want to be yourself.
Yeah, but I think the
In your own
vast majority,
eyes.
yes, I think the vast majority of people though will judge based on your actions. And so like I think your actions will really decide a lot of your branding, and that's something that I've noticed is like, and honestly, I do think a lot of this is really interconnected. The more that I wanted to be a certain type of person, the more I started working towards that kind of person. The more I actually felt like I was getting there, especially as people started to take notice. So I think all of those are like slightly connected. But I do think it's important to like figure out who's that person you want to be, and be okay with the sacrifices you're making to get to that point.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So I guess a lot of people, right? So I guess a lot of our viewers are probably pretty young, in the 20s, 20s, 30s. And so I think a lot of people at that stage in life are like, they're trying, like they care a lot about life, right? You care a lot about hanging out with friends, attending parties and stuff, but you also care about your career. Like you wanna like you wanna ultimately, I think, start your own business or like be independent, right? You don't want to work for someone forever. And so I think, like for me, the best way to actually, so yeah, okay, work work in like that aspect is divided into two different categories, right? There's company work and there's your own work you're doing, right? To find new opportunities. Like if you're a software
Personal
engineer,
growth and stuff.
yeah. So if you're a software engineer, you might work at a company and you might do, company software stuff. And on the side, when you have time, like you might do your own stuff. Like, how do you find the balance between that? Like, I think that's such a common problem where you have like artists, right? They do their own work and they also work at a company that hires them to do artistry for them. And so how do you find the balance between your own work and your company work? And for me, I think the best thing you can do is, focus on your own work. And how do you do that? Like, because if you wake up in the morning and you immediately do company work, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. Because you're using a lot of your energy in the morning, your most valuable time in the morning to do work that is to do work for someone else. And I don't think that's a smart idea. I think
Right.
you should, in the morning, like when you're fresh, you should work on your own stuff, right? Put the most effort into your own work and then do your company work, right?
Yeah.
And like if you have to go to your company at like 8 o'clock in the morning, wake up at 5 in the morning and 3 hours grind in the morning, do your own work, and then go to your company, right? And you might not be as productive when you work at your company, but that's fine, right? Like who gives a shit? You're working for someone else, honestly.
But I also think that people don't realize how interconnected even those two things are. It's just like a relationship. The more that you work on you, you're actually working on the relationship too. You don't even realize it. And it's like, the more that you develop you, the more that you're, providing to that company. You might not realize it immediately, but in some way, in some shape or form, like, maybe you're going out and learning some additional code, and you're a programmer at some company, you might end up using some of those same concepts, and maybe that'll help you with some of the stuff that you're working on too. So it's like you never really know. And so I think as a general rule, most things are going to end up helping, your relationships and your work with companies.
Yeah.
So I think I think you're right. It's like working on yourself is probably the most important thing that you can spend your time doing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they have this identity of them working, and they can't shed that identity.
hmm
It's too attached to them.
Yeah, I mean I guess that could almost be said about me. In some ways, like I work all the time, but I really enjoy it, and I can, if I have family again, like I can stop and take a break to like spend time with them. So yeah, I think it's just like so much of all of this podcast is like you've got to discover who you are, and again, it's like figure out like
And you don't discover who you are by not doing anything. You actually
exactly.
have to do stuff. I
hmm
People just don't understand that. Like you can't find out what you're passionate about without failing, without trying new things.
Yeah, and it's like I think you really have to just like decide who you want to be. And the people talk about this, like resumes. Write down the resume that you want to have in 4 years, and then work every year to get to that level. It's like at the end of college, let's say you want to learn like these 4 frameworks or something, and then you build up and you learn those by the end of those 4 years. And so it's like define who you want to be as a person and work every year to get closer to that level. Because like it's if you're in an ocean on a boat, you can get somewhere if you know where you're going, but if you have no clue where you're going, you're just gonna float around. So like you've got to be directed, I think.
Exactly. The huge misconception is people think that you learn by consuming more words, and if you read more books, you listen to audiobooks faster. Like you must be learning faster, and that's totally wrong. Although I do listen to audiobooks at like 2 times speed, just because I'm just so used to it. And yeah, I think the better way though is to we should touch on this briefly and like actually do a whole episode on this. But it's like the better way to learn is to actually like know what it is you want to work on. And like you can do this by finding out whatever it is you want to do and finding areas you need to improve on, right? Because I think a lot of people, they read books that aren't even relevant to them at the moment, right?
hmm
I think you should be reading stuff like looking at material to improve like whatever it is you want to improve on. Like
Actually, yeah.
if I'm learning
Um,
like Python, right? Like I should be reading books about Python, looking up material on Python.
Yeah, this actually really, I just thought about this. This really ties into like the work-life balance kind of thing of, what is your intent with the time that you're spending? Like for people that want to, I diss on reading all the time, but it's in very specific cases. It's like if you're reading just for fun, like if that's the life side of things, then okay, that's fine. But like if you are reading to try to learn, I think there are so many faster ways to learn. So if it's like kind of falls in the work category of your life, then I think there's so many better ways to learn. And so it's like, be directed with the time that you spend working, like, again, figure out the kind of individual and the career that you want to have, and then strive to have tunnel vision on that. Because like, again, you can learn every language in the books, but like, is there any purpose if you never use it? And I mean, there's not. And so like, try to learn things that you think you're going to use based on the person that you want to be and the career that you want to have. So I think this is why it's super important to define out like who you want to be, the kind of career that you want to have, all of these things before. And it's super okay if they change. Again, like I am super ambitious, and I always say it is very possible that I become less ambitious in the future. Maybe one day I have kids and I'm like, I just don't care about work anymore. Like it's super possible. And so it's like, just strive for something, strive for what you think you want. And like, if it changes in the future, that's fine.
Yeah, I think the beauty about directed learning is that like you're going to be excited about actually learning whatever it is you want to learn. Like,
Yeah.
because usually reading books, it's not exciting. Learning stuff is not exciting. But when you actually, are directed, it is. And the beauty of it is like you can see a clear path to utilizing the new information you're actually going to learn, right? You're actually going to put into use and make it useful. And the good thing about this too is like you're taking action. And when you take action, you also immediately know, oh shit, I like hear some like fucking weird stuff in the background. But like the beauty of like
Might be the cars.
yeah, I hear a car, yeah. But like the
I'll
beauty
mute
of that,
myself.
no, it's fine, it's fine. The beauty of that is those like, when you take action, you immediately know if it's good or bad information because you applied it and you know whether it works in the field or not. So that's the beauty of it. That's why we always say take action. Because it's way better than spending 3 months reading a fucking book and then applying whatever's in the book, and like or reading 3 months reading a book and then like a year later applying it. Like you just wasted so much time. If you just apply it immediately, you learn so much quicker.
And the reality is like you won't remember most of this. You're gonna have to go and reference the book anyway. And so it's like, why don't you just reference the book along the way? I think that's like the best. And like find people who are where you want to be. You can ask questions. So if there are better ways to do things, then they can like send you in the right direction. I think that'll really help.
Dude, wrap it up, bro.
Wrap it up.
Yes, wrap it up.
Yeah. So that's podcast 41. Peeps, check us out on YouTube. Definitely go and check out our pretty faces. Got to be all over the internet, so like it up.
Like it up. Wow, I've never heard.
Yes, like it up. So subscribe.
So hypothetically, man,
Yes.
if I were a mouse and you were the like button, would you let me smash?
Wow. Okay. On
Best
that,
pickup line ever.
yeah. On that note, subscribe and give us a review. See ya, peeps.
Bye, peeps.